I'm talking about more on the lines of when there are 2, 3 developers running for one society, as you said, they must be competing.
Yeah.
In that competition, what happens? Slandering happens. In that competition, miscommunication happens. Society can also demand certain things, which certain developer can promise and cannot. Why don't we still have guidelines when it comes to redevelopment?
You can't put a law and Creda or Naredco can't come up with a law and say किसी ने ये कर दिया तो तुमको बैन कर देंगे. So we're not in school, boss. School में वो principal knuckles पे मारती थी. Hey, how do you say that? When you're in the outside world.
So the recent report by CBRE had quoted that 10 months or 2023 has seen 97% of surge in demand for the luxury homes above 4 crore and onwards. Do you see this trend increasing further in the next year 2024, and why do you see such trend has gained momentum for this particular year?
Uh, this year has been an anomaly. This is the second year post the COVID hangover. 2020, 21, we got out of the COVID hangover. 22, 23, markets bounced back. A lot of people made good capital. Um, Luckily enough, because the way the government handled the COVID situation, India got insulated a lot, right, compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So because we got insulated, a lot of money flew in. Things became good for everybody, right? Eventually, after a long time, India reached that tipping point of young kids, mature adults, and older generation where your consumption reached at a peak. I think we are still there. We've got a decade of peak ahead of us. Uh, People had that YOLO moment. So it's all converged together, right? अपना consumption at an all-time high था. दुनिया का consumption कम हो गया. So then Indian companies started that whole Make in India movement with the government did. The Indian companies started promoting a lot of their goods. Western countries had a bit of an issue. So those guys started promoting a lot of stuff in India. Um, Apple opening its first Indian store gives you that clean, clear indication, right, about luxury goods and demand. If an Apple is opening it, that means luxury homes will be sold. Only reason being YOLO movement, right?
Right.
I started speaking to my father saying, Papa, means what are you working for? What are we living for if we don't have a bigger house? When is that baad mein karenge moment, right? So like me having a conversation with my father, a lot of other kids had. And they said, यार बड़ा कर लेते हैं साथ में वापस रहते हैं, right? Post COVID people started realizing that nuclear family से वापस join करते हैं, बड़ा कर लेते हैं, दो अलग घर चलाना से अच्छा एक लेते हैं. That is that surge that you see, right? I think this year will still continue to see that surge because our population is pretty big. We have still that gas left in the tank for that consumption. Because a house is one such thing, right? That once consumed, for the consumer to become a consumer again, or the home buyer to become a consumer again,
Yeah.
the gestation period is the longest. It's not like a car which is 3-5 years as a thumb rule average. A house goes to 10-15 years, right? The only reason I'm saying 10-15 is because then your kids grow older if you have kids, and then they need their own space, and then from a 2 bedroom you need a 3, or from a 3 you need a 4, and a 4 you need a 5, right?
Yeah.
But it's a 10-15 year age gap. Uh, Hence I said this year we will see a lot of that. But then you might see a flat line towards it, right? Because majority would have taken those big apartments and big homes.
Yeah.
Also, what happened, I think, single floor plate big homes sold faster than duplex homes. If you were giving somebody 6,000 or 4,000 square feet on one floor versus 2,000 foot ka do floor, that 4,000 sold more.
Yeah.
And at a bigger price is because a duplex has a great feel, right? But beyond a stage, it gets annoying for a lot of people. कि कितना ऊपर नीचे करेंगे,
Yeah.
right? That all culminated together, according to me, right? Joint family system coming back in, people moving closer to each other. A lot of those movements, I think, culminated into luxury housing or above 5 crore rupee apartments being bought. the data also showed that the stamp duty increase is not just the primary home buyers. There were a lot of secondary homes that were sold and bought. That means people upgraded. That means people who had 2 bedrooms moved to a three. People who had 2, 3 bedrooms moved to a big 6 bedroom. Right?
Yeah.
I think this will still continue for a year more because a lot of people are still looking at bigger properties because there is still that growth story which is there in the country. India is poised towards a long-term growth story. The micro, macro, both economics are working in our favor, right? Western world slowing down helps India. It is now about seizing the opportunity and the moment, right? If production continues the way it is going to, development continues the way it is going to, that means people are going to make money. If that cycle is intact over the next 5 years, um, these data will seem minuscule the next year, will seem much more minuscule the year after that, right? All of this is thanks to that COVID syndrome.
Yeah.
Because people realize that यार आज ही है जीना कल नहीं होता है,
Right.
right? I can never wait for that right opportune moment to buy my big dream home.
Yeah.
Because I cannot wait for it, the moment I have identified a project or a house, I work towards that goal over the next 6, 8, 12 months, buy that house, right? Next year, people who are going to buy these houses over the next 12 months from the calendar year, those conversations have already happened in the past 2, 3 months. People are figuring out their finances, either selling some stocks because that's appreciated or selling some old apartments because they've appreciated. But it is a 4-month process from identifying a project to booking a project to registering a project. So I think we are poised where more luxury homes will be sold than last year because more projects are going to be delivered next year as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a one-off case. It might not be in that 93%, 95% number, but because आपने पहले 100 बेचे थे और अभी आप 1000 बेच रहे हो तो आपको वो 100x ग्रोथ दिखता है.
Yeah.
आप जब वो 1000 का 1200 भी बेच रहे हो वापस, right? That 1200 more is a bigger figure. It's not just 200 more, right? Because always understand जो 1200 नए फ्लैट्स बिक रहे हैं उसमें 1200 या 1500 पुराने फ्लैट्स भी बिक रहे हैं, कोई ना कोई तो खरीद रहा है.
Yeah.
Right? So that consumption pattern will continue, I think.
So this data which I spoke about, the 97% surge we saw, was a complete from Indian major cities.
Right.
But when we talk about Mumbai real estate market, right? जो data ने बोला है 4 crore से above is considered in luxury. But when it comes to Mumbai market, we consider 2 crore in affordable.
Right.
So how would you see the trend happening when it comes to luxury homes in Mumbai?
Luxury homes in Mumbai in different micro markets is different. Borivali, Kandili, Malad, the price of 5 crores is a luxury home, right?
Yeah.
Khar, Bandra, Santa Cruz, Juhu could be 12 crores or 6 crores, 8 crores, depending upon 1,000 square foot 2 bedroom is also luxury compared to a 600 square foot 2 bedroom. Let's put it that way, right? Bombay is one such weird anomaly जहाँ पे आप कोठियां नहीं बनाते हो, right?
Yeah.
आप वो डुप्लेक्स ट्रिप्लेक्स या 10,000 फुट एक फ्लोर प्लेट पे लेते हो.
Yeah.
और वैसे प्रोजेक्ट्स बहुत कम है. लोढ़ा मलाबार was in the news the last whole year, right? 1,25,000, 1,30,000, 1,15,000, stuff like that. But that project is an anomaly. That doesn't mean that whole stretch एक 25 पे बिकता है. लोढ़ा मलाबार एक 25 पे बिकता है because वो 3,000 से लेके 7,000 का फ्लोर प्लेट देता है.
Yeah.
How many such projects in South Bombay have you seen which give a 7,000 square feet single floor plate? They don't, right? So it is very micro market centric, and within the micro market, it is project centric. Like I'll give you an example. When I said that in Elements, we are not just looking at building 700 and 1,000 square meter plots. We're looking at combining 2,000 square meter plots or 3,700 square meter plots and making a 2,200 square meter plot और उसके ऊपर घर बना रहा है. So when I make a 700 square meter पे house, my house is like this, like a train. वही अगर मैं 2,100 square meter पे करता हूँ, like a proper rectangle, my house becomes broader. A broader house, east-west facing, 5,000 square feet on a single floor plate could fetch me a higher buyer, right? Who's willing to pay that price, saying, I can have a lavish 4 bedroom and 5,000 square feet, like 2 homes, one side being for the father, mother, the other side being for the son and their uh, wife, right? Or usi mein agar the son gets kids or whatever, within that 5,000 square feet, they can build another bedroom because they've broken down some rooms or not some rooms and live their life peacefully, right? So it is going to be an anomaly, and you are seeing a trend in Mumbai real estate, which is not seen elsewhere within the country, where you have a lot of, how do you say, flexi homes,
Yeah.
in luxury, right? That is one thing which is very, very important, where you're given a floor plate of, let's say, 3,000 square foot. The sale plan shows it as 5 bedroom, but the consumer can make anywhere from a 1 to a 5.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that flexibility that a buyer gets, he's willing to pay that extra premium, because your requirement of space versus my requirement of space is drastically different.
True.
And because हमारे यहाँ पे वो कोटी सिस्टम नहीं है जो रेस्ट ऑफ द कंट्री में है, like a 1 hour flight away in Pune, Koti system works, right? Let's do bungalow system. 2 hour flight, Ahmedabad, Delhi, Chandigarh.
Yeah.
You don't have these high rises. High rises are only mid to affordable homes, and bungalows are where the true rich homes are built, right? Because you don't have that in Bombay, you've got into this flexor system. The height matters. 10.5 foot is no longer luxury. 11.5, 12, 12.5 foot is considered luxury, right? So these are those things which will trigger the next set of, how do you say, consumption in luxury homes.
So tell me, when you talk about micro market, right? When we say Khar Bandra, there are prices going like 55,000 to 60,000 per square feet. Don't
That
you?
is a very small plot. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is just the starting. As a first time home buyer, from a youngsters whom we are seeing the investments are coming in the tier 2 cities or even metro cities, in a Mumbai market, and if you see, the youngsters are not willing to buy because they feel it's such a मैं rent भर दूंगा, I stay in Worli, pay 2 lakhs, and not have a house and have a good house in my maybe another metro city. Don't you think we are uh, spoiling the market by putting exorbitant
No,
kind of per square feet rate?
no, I'm sorry to cut you, but no, I'll tell you why.
Hmm.
It is not exorbitant rate. Again,
How do you define this rate? Where the starting comes from 55 to 65,000 just because you're from Khar or Bandra?
no, it's not that. It's the cost of
Yeah.
acquisition. There are projects in Mahavir Nagar, right? Kandivali, brilliant location. There are projects that are selling at 50,000 a square foot in Mahavir Nagar. How do you justify that? Now look at it in that perspective, saying Mahavir Nagar, Kandivali West, if I'm paying 50,000 rupees a square foot, Khar West, 50,000 is affordable. It is now a matter saying that, again, development size क्या है, आप height क्या दे रहे हो, आप flexibility क्या दे रहे हो, not in the payment flexibility but in the overall development flexibility, right? All of those define the price, because the cost also goes up. Please try and
Is it
understand.
also defining because the kind of land you're purchasing? जैसे आधे developers बोलते हैं हमने 100 crore में तो land लिया है.
That's true.
Now we are going to build
It
on
is going to
that.
happen, and in redevelopment, because it's a hot race today, and both of us are vying for this piece of land. I bid 30%, you'll bid 33. I bid 34, you'll bid 36. Right? So your purchasing is expensive. Because your purchasing is expensive, your selling is expensive. It will flatten out, it will average out, right? I'm not justifying the high prices. High prices come because of hyperinflation, because of a weird demand supply mismatch. For the first time in a really long time, there's a higher demand for luxury home. I'll not use the word luxury homes. There's a higher demand for bigger square footage homes. Then there is supply of bigger square footage homes, right? It is a very, very different market where
Right.
1,000 foot के 3 bedrooms in Kharbanda, Santa Cruz are a dime a dozen. पर 4,000 फुट का सिंगल फ्लोर प्लेट इज गिन के 4 प्रोजेक्ट, right? Now buyers are 8, projects are 4, so that means 4 flats,
Yeah.
right? That means each one of us know कि बाजू वाले का बिकने के बाद भी मेरे प्रोडक्ट का तो प्राइस आने ही वाला है, मैं रुकता हूँ। एंड द बायर्स नो दैट यार इन्वेंट्री बहुत लिमिटेड है, मैं अगर आज नहीं लूंगा या मैं 3 दिन रुकूंगा तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, राइट? सो इट इज दैट मिसमैच विच इज फ्यूलिंग द प्राइस, वन। Coming to your point of rental yield, luxury, non-luxury, मैं लुधियाना में फ्लैट ले लिया बिकॉज वेल आई सी समथिंग इज डेवलपिंग देयर, कुछ तो हो रहा है, तो मैं पंजाब से हूँ, मैंने लुधियाना में ले लिया, गुड, ग्रेट। पर मैं काम बम्बई में कर रहा हूँ, मैं भाड़े पे रहूंगा, मैं ईएमआई लुधियाना के लिए भर रहा हूँ, वो फ्लैट के लिए या वो जमीन के लिए या बंगलो के लिए, पर मैं रह रहा बम्बई में हूँ। It is wealth destruction and not wealth creation, right? You're buying a plot of land or a bungalow or something here, thinking इसको तो मैं सस्ता मिल रहा है, मैं लीज कर दूंगा। नहीं यार, your parents don't stay in Ludhiana. If your parents stay in Ludhiana or in Chandigarh or wherever, for example, and you're working in Mumbai and you buy a house for them, bigger house, upgrade them, great, that's investment, right? But if you're saying that I will buy a house, why would I give away in Ludhiana? I'll buy a house in Pune because rental yield of Pune is better. पर मैं यहाँ पे भाड़े पे रहता हूँ, ये आप घर अपने पैसे से ले रहे हो या लोन से ले रहे हो? अगर आप लोन से ले रहे हो तो आप दो जगह पे ईएमआई भर रहे हो, एक जगह पे एसेट बन रही है जिसको आप फ्यूचर में रेंट पे डालोगे, फ्यूचर में सब कुछ करोगे और आप होप कर रहे हो कि रेंट पे जाएगी।
But you would also say appreciation I would get from out of that. In
Be a smarter
comparison,
player, boss. Bombay as one part of the micro market of India is seeing a lot of growth. Gujarat has Ahmedabad, which is seeing a lot of growth. Gift City is seeing a lot of growth, right? All of these places, yes, things are getting expensive, but the smarter players, what they do is, or smarter investors, or small time investors, or however you want to call it, what they do is, because redevelopment is picking up in Bombay, right? You get into older apartments or older buildings, buy a house, hope that that project goes in for redevelopment, and you get more bang for your buck. You don't buy a plot of land in Gift City today as an investor. You buy a plot of land outside of Gift City because you know that जिस दिन Gift City बन जाएगा, periphery का market बढ़ने ही वाला है, right?
True.
I don't have the budget for Gift City, so I should not be stupid enough to buy it in Gift City or somewhere very far off, which will be Gift City too. I buy in that 5 kilometer radius of Gift City, saying ये बन जाने दे, फिर उधर तो रोड बनना ही है ना, या होटल तो बनना ही है ना, तो रेस्टोरेंट या कुछ तो बनना है ना, मैं उधर घर लेता हूँ। दैट इज अ स्मार्ट मूव। बट द स्मार्टर मूव इज मैं बंबई में रह के गिफ्ट सिटी में प्लॉट नहीं ले सकता हूँ। हाउ डू आई नो वेदर माई हाउस इज बीइंग मेंटेन्ड? अब यहाँ से पूना भी जाते हो, हाउ डू यू नो कि वो घर भाड़े पे चढ़ने वाला है? यू आर रिलाइंग ऑन अ लोकल ब्रोकर, यू आर नॉट देयर एवरी डे, यू आर नॉट कॉलिंग हिम एवरी डे, यू आर बिजी इन योर ओन वर्क, घर ताला पड़ के बंद पड़ा है। Then a lot of people complain, अरे भाड़े पे नहीं गया, मार्केट अच्छा नहीं है, मैं बेच देता हूँ, पैसा नहीं आ रहा है। That's a desperation move. It's like the stock market, but on a long-term gestation period, right? You can get a one-bedroom in Khar for let's say 3 crore rupees. Pretty expensive, right? You're getting it for 3 crore rupees. You know why? Because that building is going to go in for redevelopment. Your 400 square foot apartment will become let's say 30% more, right? So your 400 at 3 crores will become 520 at 3 crore rupees.
Yeah.
Now, what is the value of that 520 versus the 400? You know what I mean?
But this is where my question comes in, right? When you're talking about prices, अभी आपके माइक्रो मार्केट में ज्यादातर रीडेवलपमेंट ही होंगे.
हाँ.
A person who's been staying there for more than maybe 10 years or maybe 2 decades also, then they will get that kind of appreciation because redevelopment में गया है,
नहीं,
building, right?
नहीं. With the way development and redevelopment is happening in those micro markets, you will see a phase where development will stop. You've reached the peak of FSI utilization.
Yeah.
There was a statistics that I was reading. It was a very funny statistics, and it's been within our lifetime. Let's put it that way. When my father started real estate, it was one FSI, right? In his career, that one became 1.5 with floating FSI. Then that 1.5 became 2 with the whole use of TDR. That 2 became 3, right? With incentive and fungible and everything coming into play. That 3 has now become 5 or 6, depending upon the scheme that you take. There's something known as 3311 or 3320B, which is in talks. One is a slum scheme, one is a BMC scheme, right? So you have seen in 40 years, one or 40 years, one jumping to 5, right? But the funniest part is now it looks बराबर है कि 40 साल में एक का 5 हो गया तो हर डेकेड में कुछ ग्रोथ हुआ.
Yeah.
1 का 3 होने को 3 डेकेड लगे थे.
Yeah.
राइट. 3 का 6 होने को 1 डेकेड लगा है. अभी 1 डेकेड में आपकी रोड बन गया, मेट्रोस बन गया, 3 का 6 हो गया. 6 का 12 कब होगा? In a redevelopment project, a normal thumb rule states 50-50. Okay, whatever is the plot area, however those guys are using, those existing members, 50% should be existing members के पास area, 50% आपके पास होना चाहिए as a developer, so that you can recover your cost of construction, rent, corpus, approvals, as a normal thumb rule, right? Sea facing apartment है, you want to make a landmark project, बड़ा plot है, you might share it at a 60-40 ratio. 60% society को दे देते हैं because there will be a lot of bidders for it. 40% मैं retain करता हूँ, right? Because that is also the risk appetite of that developer.
True.
Now, if you follow that same thumb rule of 60-40, you are at 6 FSI, which has been utilized, which in, let's say if I start a project today, 2024 is already starting. In 4 years or 3 years, I'll complete the project. So 2027, I hand over the OC. When does that 2027 wala building go in for redevelopment?
After maybe 30-40 years.
Right?
Yeah.
That means your stock of luxury homes will flatten out, will actually go negative. Because there will be no new redevelopment happening.
True.
Because there is no new redevelopment happening, that means primary market sale stops. If primary market sale stops, secondary market starts commanding the price.
True.
And secondary market price, if there are 5 of us in this room, depends from person to person need, wants and requirements and desires. As a developer, I want to sell and churn my cash flow. As a Kritika, an investor, you might not want to sell a house. Then what happens? Then somebody has to make you an offer that you can't refuse. And we will reach that tipping point in a decade. Within a decade, majority of stuff will be redeveloped. The stuff that is not redeveloped will be smaller plots. Nobody wants to touch those plots. What do you do then? You will have a New York kind of or a Manhattan kind of a situation where or a Tokyo kind of a situation or a San Fran kind of a Chicago, right? All those micro markets in a suburb, you will have those situations where यार खार में तो कुछ मिल ही नहीं रहा है या मलाबार हिल में कुछ बन ही नहीं रहा है. For the longest time in मलाबार हिल पुराने बिल्डिंग में 80,000 का भाव चल रहा था, 90,000 का भाव चल रहा था क्योंकि बिल्डिंग ही नहीं टूट रही थी. अब नई बिल्डिंग एक 25 हो गए तो पुराने बिल्डिंग पे 75 हो गया क्योंकि लोग बोलते हैं यार ये क्या है यार, टूटी फूटी है, लिफ्ट नहीं है. पहले लिफ्ट के बिना भी आप लाख रुपए देते थे ना, बिकॉज मैं यहीं पे रहता हूँ, मेरे को बाजू वाला एक फ्लैट चाहिए, तो आप कन्वीनियंस के हिसाब से देते थे क्योंकि ऑप्शन नहीं था. राइट. अब आपको ऑप्शन है तो आप दे रहे हो. मलाबार हिल पे लिमिटेड फ्लैट्स है. लॉट ऑफ इट हैज पेपर वर्क इश्यूज, लैंडलॉर्ड इश्यूज, टेनेंट इश्यूज, राइट. वो सॉल्व होते होते 20 साल लग जाते हैं. 20 साल बाद वो प्रोजेक्ट कब डेवलप होगा, कब टूटेगा, कब बनेगा. तो आज जो है वो ले लो. राइट. खारबांडा सैंटा क्रूज में वो इशू ही नहीं है. खारबांडा सैंटा क्रूज, whenever you go for a drive next time, check it out. Every alternate building is broken down. That means in an average of broken down building to a newer building breaking down, let's say what we have taken, you are looking at 5 years. Right. My project starts next year, 4 years from now it gets handed over, life is over. So you're looking at an average of 5 years. You've reached peak point. Then the supply just keeps on going down. Your demand will increase.
Yeah.
My kids will grow older. Today, 4,000 square feet is enough for me. But with my kids growing older, their requirements reaching their peak, I will need a bigger house. Where do I get a 5,000 square feet house? I won't. I'll have to come to you because you have bought that and I'll have to purchase it from you. You might not want to sell it at an X price. You will quote me a Y price. A developer I know has 10 flats. तो मैं पहले 4 ले लेता हूँ तो वो उसका कॉस्ट निकल जाता है. आपके पास एक ही फ्लैट है. So you will only see the price peak from now. That's why there's this frenzy of the ultra rich purchasing properties again,
Yeah.
because they can see that curve coming in, saying that boss, अब grade A रेसिडेंशियल डेवलपमेंट बहुत लिमिटेड बचे हैं, जो बच्चे ले लेते हैं,
Mm.
right? Then we will trade in it, because now that stock is literally finite and limited. Once the coastal road is done, right, you have reached the end of Mumbai. Now, for the government to reclaim more land, has to go above and beyond the coastal road, which is never going to happen. How do you go beyond that side of the road, right? So now you've actually set a boundary to Mumbai with the coastal road, saying, अब मुंबई वेस्ट में तो ग्रो ही नहीं हो सकता, तो आप ग्रो किधर होगे? नॉर्थ साउथ तो आप बंद हो. That is that anomaly which is Mumbai, right? Because you look at Thana, you look at Kalyan. I'm developing 40-story buildings in Kalyan. Sleepy town where 7 माले की buildings नहीं बनती थी, 4 माले में खत्म होता था लोड बेरिंग स्ट्रक्चर पे. हम कल्याण में 2000 we entered what 2010, right? No, 2018 we entered Kalyan. Sorry, 2010 तो I started. In that phase, from a 7-story to a 15-story to a 40-story project, right? Who would have thought that within a decade or so you're building 40-story buildings in Kalyan? Because land is restricted.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing is going to happen with Kharbanda Santa Cruz. Juhu sees a spurt and a price high more than Kharbanda Santa Cruz. Because bungalows जितने भी थे सब टूट गए. अभी जो bungalows बाकी हैं, those are with the extremely wealthy guys or actors, and they don't want to let go of their privacy.
Yeah.
Right? So because they don't want to let go of their privacy, that means those many bungalows are less. That means that much less product being made. So we are at that tipping point where you will start seeing luxury homes dwindling in supply.